Hello everyone. Today I am going to explain you about scapulohumeral rhythm. It is the one of the important topic of shoulder complex chapter. So let us start with scapulohumeral rhythm. So what is scapulohumeral rhythm? There is a contribution of scapulothoracic joint and glenohumeral joint to perform the movement known as elevation. So producing the contribution in the elevation movement by scapulothoracic and glenohumeral joint is known as scapulohumeral rhythm. Now we can see here in the first sentence, the scapula on thorax contributes to elevation of the humerus by upward rotating the glenoid fossa by 50 to 60 degree from its resting position. Similarly, the glenohumeral joint contributes to 100 to 120 degree of flexion, and the combination of these two contribution reaches to maximum range of 150 to 180 degree. So these are the contributions: 50 to 60 degree via scapulothoracic joint, 100 to 120 degree via glenohumeral joint, and combination of this contribution makes the elevation movement to reach till maximum of 150 to 180 degree. So we can consider the overall ratio of glenohumeral to scapulothoracic joint is 2:1 ratio. For every 2 degree increase in glenohumeral joint movement range, there is 1 degree increase in the scapulothoracic. So it will be termed as 2:1 ratio. So this contribution provided by glenohumeral and scapulothoracic is commonly referred as scapulohumeral rhythm. Same introduction part we can see via diagram. So here you can all of you can see there is the scapula bone. This is the initial resting position when the person is in the resting position, when there is no movement around the shoulder complex. Then this is the starting position of the scapula, and this is the final position what scapula will be achieving after providing full elevation movement. So here what is mentioned that 2:1 ratio or the contribution by the scapulothoracic is 60 degree, 50 to 60, and the contribution by glenohumeral joint is 120 degree. So that's why we are getting the total amount of 180 degree movement, 60 plus 120. So out of that 180, 120 degree movement is going to be provided by GH joint, and remaining 50 to 60 degree movement is going to be provided by scapulothoracic joint. That is the reason we will be getting the ratio, that is 2:1 ratio. 2 is going to represent for glenohumeral joint, 1 is going to represent for the scapulothoracic joint. So to understand the scapulohumeral rhythm properly, we can divide the scapulohumeral rhythm in three phases, that is phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. Phase 1 is also known as early range and setting phase. The initial movement, the initial early part of the movement will be termed as phase 1, which is going to be 30 degree of elevation, means when we are going to reach the 30 degree of elevation. Now what are the contribution of the three different bones, that is your humerus, clavicle and scapula. So in the first phase, humerus is going to contribute around 30 degree of abduction. Clavicle is going to contribute about 0 to 5 degree of elevation, and on scapula side there will be minimal movement. On the medial side, on the medial border, we can see the minimal movement. Now coming to the phase 2, phase 2 also known as mid range, here we will be getting the 90 degree of elevation. Total amount of degree what we will be achieving in the phase 2, it will be 90, which will be the addition from the phase 1 also. So in this, humerus contribution will be in this range 40 degree, scapula contribution will be 20 degree lateral rotation, and clavicle will be contributing around 15 degree of elevation. Now coming to the phase 3. Phase 3 is known as end range, where we will be achieving our final degree movement, that is around 90 to 180 degree of elevation. So in this phase, humerus is going to contribute around 60 degree of abduction, 90 degree of lateral rotation. Scapula is going to contribute about 30 to 40 degree of lateral rotation, and clavicle is going to contribute about 30 to 50 degree of posterior rotation. This you need to keep in mind when we were discussing about the other joints of the shoulder complex. There we have discussed posterior rotation, how the clavicle goes in posterior rotation. So clavicle is going to contribute in the last phase 30 to 50 degree of posterior rotation plus additional 15 degree of elevation. So now we will see these all three phases one by one via diagram. So in first phase, phase 1, which is also known as I told you, early range or setting phase. So what is going to happen here? Here we are going to get the 30 degree of elevation. So in this 30 degree of elevation, already I have explained you that humerus is going to contribute 30 degree of abduction, clavicle will contribute 0 to 5 degree elevation, and on scapula there will be minimal movement. Now here the black line is representing the mid part of the midline of the spine, that is there, and red is going to represent the medial border of the scapula. So you can see here there is no move, the line is not going to move at all. The red line is going to be stationary, that is why the scapula is having a minimal movement. But if you see the green line is going to consider for the humerus movement. So you can see the range here that we have achieved 30 degree when we started doing our abduction movement, elevation movement. So in the first range, the early range or setting phase, we are going to get 30 degree of elevation abduction, that is going to be contributed by humerus. And around the clavicle, when we see the clavicle, we will be seeing that there will be 0 to 5 degree of elevation movement. So this is all thing about phase 1. Now coming to the phase 2. Similarly, the lines you can see, the black line and the red and the green. Now you can see the red line has started to move. Red line started to move. So as we mentioned here, humerus is going to contribute another 40 degree of abduction. So initially how much it contributed? 30 degree. Okay, in the first phase it contributed 30 degree. So 30 plus another 40 degree if it contributes. So in this phase the humerus is going to reach till 70 degree, means humerus will be contributing total 70 degree in this phase, that is earlier 30 and now 40 degree 70. And in this phase scapula is going to contribute 20 degree of lateral rotation. So this 70 degree and 20 degree, we will be getting the total elevation in this phase will be 90 degree of elevation. And here the clavicle is going to move another 15 degree of elevation in the upward direction. Now let us go to phase 3. Now in phase 3 we can see here the humerus has achieved, the GH joint has achieved 120 degree of range of motion, and scapulothoracic has achieved 50 to 60 degree of the movement. This is the final range of motion. This is the end range where we will be achieving our whole 180 degree of the movement, and in that 180, 120 is going to be contributed by glenohumeral joint, and 50 to 60 degree is going to be contributed by scapulothoracic joint. So earlier in mid range, that is our phase 2, humerus was glenohumeral joint came till 40 degree. Okay, 40, and in first phase it was 30. So 40 plus 30, 70 degree, and in this it is going to achieve another 60 degree. So 70 plus 60, it will make somewhere around 120 to 130 degree that we are going to achieve in this range. And scapula is going to contribute another 30 to 40 degree in this phase. So already we have achieved 20 degree in the previous phase, that is in the second phase. In first phase, remember, in first phase there was no movement, minimal movement in the scapulothoracic. In phase 2 we achieved 20 degree of lateral rotation. Now in phase 3 we have achieved around 30 to 40 degree. So this 30 to 40 and 20, we will be getting around 50 to 60 degree of the movement. Now coming to the clavicle, already a clavicle, it gives around 40 to 45 degree of elevation of clavicle is possible. In out of that, here in this phase we are getting 15 degree of elevation. In phase 2 already we have got 15 degree of elevation, so 15 15 30, and in first phase it was somewhere around 0 to 5. So approximately we will be getting 35 to 40 degree of clavicle elevation during this whole scapulohumeral rhythm. And apart from that, in last phase, to complete the elevation movement, our clavicle is supposed to go in posterior rotation, that is around somewhere 30 to 40 30 to 50 degree. Then only it is possible to reach the maximum range of motion of 180 degree, and there will be the contribution of the humerus by providing lateral rotation, which is very important. You have to keep in mind, once our shoulder reaches to the 90 degree of the abduction, if you are not going to rotate your shoulder complex in the lateral rotation, then we are not going to possible to reach the 180 degree movement. So this 90 degree is required in the third phase, in the last end range, where humerus has already achieved 90 degree of abduction. From there you need to make it lateral rotation of the shoulder complex, rotate your hand outside, and then only you can go till further movement to complete the shoulder elevation to touch your ears. Okay, so this is known as scapulohumeral rhythm. Now let us discuss about the contribution of the two important joints which are the part of the shoulder complex, that is your sternoclavicular and acromioclavicular joint. How they are going to contribute this scapulothoracic movement. Now what happens? There is a contraction of trapezius and serratus anterior muscle. I will be showing you this via diagram. So there is a contraction of trapezius and serratus anterior. So due to this contraction, there will be the initiation of the movement which is known as upward rotation of scapula. This will start. Once this movement starts, upward rotation of scapula, the coracoclavicular ligament is going to be taut and it will resist excessive movement of scapula at AC joint. So this is the first here, that what happened initially, there is a contraction of which muscle? Trapezius and serratus anterior. So upward rotation of scapula started. Now during this procedure, our one of the ligament, that is coracoclavicular ligament, is going to be taut and it is going to resist excessive movement at AC joint. Now what will happen? Now AC joint movement has stopped. So now the movement will start at SC joint. Now the SC joint movement starts, so there will be elevation of clavicle. Once there is elevation of clavicle, it will assist in 30 degree of scapular upward rotation. So we have reached till 30 degree of scapular upward rotation by the contributions of sternoclavicular and acromioclavicular joint. And we know we have to reach another 30 degree to make it as 60 degree, because we came to know that scapulothoracic is going to contribute around 50 to 60 degree of movement in completing the elevation, and remaining 120 degree is contributed by glenohumeral joint. So how this 60 degree we are achieving, that's what we are discussing here with the contributions of sternoclavicular and acromioclavicular. Okay, so next part. So after that 30 degree, now costoclavicular ligament. Now costoclavicular ligament is taut and it is going to resist any further clavicular elevation. Okay, there it was coracoclavicular ligament which was becoming taut and it was going to resist the further movement at the AC joint. Then the SC joint movement started. Now here costoclavicular ligament is going to be taut and it is going to resist further clavicular elevation. Now what will happen? The muscles which are present on the coracoid process, they are going to pull it downward. They are going to pull the coracoid process on the downward side. So due to this, what will happen? The conoid ligament will become taut, and due to this force of contributions, the clavicle goes in posterior rotation. So for this, you need to check my previous video where I have explained about how the clavicle goes in posterior rotation. So once you see that video, it is very easy to understand how this goes in posterior rotation. So this, once the clavicle is going in posterior rotation, the lateral end of the clavicle will be flipped up and it will be facing anteriorly. So this is how we will reach the another 30 degree, additional 30 degree of upward rotation of scapula. So previous 30 and this 30 makes it 60 degree of upward rotation of scapula. So in this way, scapula reaches the final position of 60 degree of upward rotation, and after that humerus carries out remaining movement of flexion at glenohumeral joint. So this is termed as scapulohumeral rhythm. Now let us see this scapulohumeral rhythm, what I have showed you in the flow chart, how the contribution is provided by the joints, that we will discuss here. Now to look in that first point, what I have told you previously, so later what you can do, you can write that flow chart what I have mentioned properly, and then you can come to this diagram. Then it will be very easy for you to understand how there is contribution. So how sternoclavicular and acromioclavicular contributions are given. So first point was there is going to be a contraction of trapezius and serratus anterior muscle. So if you look on the screen, these are the trapezius fibers, upper fiber, middle fiber and lower fiber. They are on the medial side because here we will be having the spine. Okay, and this is the lateral part where there is the glenoid fossa, and here we will be getting humerus bone on this part. Okay, so serratus anterior is on the lower part, on the inferior angle of scapula. So this is the pull of the serratus anterior, this is the pull of the lower trapezius. So trapezius and serratus anterior are going to give a pull. So we will be getting a pull in this direction, means in anti direction. Trapezius will be trying to pull in the medial lower medial direction, and serratus anterior will be trying to pull on the lateral direction. This is the way the initiation of the movement will start. This was the first point, and we will be getting the upward rotation of scapula. During this movement, what will happen next? Coracoclavicular ligament. You can see here coracoclavicular ligament, which is having two components, trapezoid and conoid. Okay, depending upon their shape, they have got the name trapezoid and conoid. This also I have explained in previously, where I have explained about acromioclavicular joint. Okay, now when there is the upward rotation of scapula started, the coracoclavicular ligament will become taut. This coracoclavicular ligament will become tight, and it will resist the excessive movement of the scapula at AC joint. This is our acromioclavicular joint, AC joint, acromioclavicular joint. So what will happen once this ligament is taut? This ligament is going to be very tight. So this will not allow further movement on the AC joint. So next point was, now the movement will start where? Now movement will start on the SC joint, that is our sternoclavicular joint. Now the movement is going to start here. So once the movement starts here, we will be getting the elevation of clavicle. We will be start getting the elevation of clavicle, and this is how we will be getting the initial 30° of scapular upward rotation. We will get initial 30° of scapular upward rotation. Now coming to the second component. Now once we have reached till 30° of scapular upward rotation, what will happen? Our another ligament, which is known as costoclavicular ligament, costoclavicular ligament, which is present here, costoclavicular ligament between the clavicle and costal cartilage of first rib, that is your costoclavicular ligament. Now what will happen? After 30° of the initial movement, this ligament will become tight. Okay, this is going to be taut, and this will resist further clavicular elevation. So this will not allow now further movement of the clavicle. So what will happen? We have to reach the another 30°, then only the contribution will be completed. And once the body is in the normal condition, means no underlying pathologies are there, no anatomical disturbance are there, so we have to reach another 30°. So to reach this another 30°, what will happen? Muscular forces will be going to draw the coracoid process in downward direction. So as you can see here, coracoid process is there. The muscles origin and insertion which are having on this coracoid process, they will try to pull the coracoid process in downward direction. They are going to pull this coracoid process in downward direction. So now due to this, what will happen? This ligament will become taut. Conoid ligament will become taut. It will be very tight. Now due to this, what will happen? Clavicle will be pulled into posterior rotation. You can see here the clavicle will go in posterior rotation due to this pull, and due to this the lateral end of clavicle will flipped up. Lateral end of the clavicle will flip up, and this is how once it flips up, the inferior surface will be looking anteriorly. This will happen. So this is how we will get the another 30° of the upward rotation of scapula, and this is the way how we reach the scapula reaches to the final position of 60° of upward rotation, and the remaining movement will be carried out by the glenohumeral joint. Now just few 2-3 points, let us see more how the muscles are going to contribute to the scapulohumeral rhythm. So first point is upward rotators of the scapula. So as already I discussed, there will be the there will be the contraction of the trapezius and serratus anterior muscles. So same thing is written here. The motions of the scapula are primarily produced by a balance of the forces between the trapezius and serratus anterior muscle through their attachment on the clavicle and scapula. So as I mentioned you, trapezius was going to pull on the medial direction, serratus anterior on the lateral direction, and they are having a balance. So we will be getting a proper movement. So same thing you can see here via the diagram, how the trapezius contract, the force of the contraction of the trapezius and serratus anterior muscle. So trapezius with serratus anterior, they form a force couple for scapular upward rotation. Initiation is done by the scapular rotators, that is upper trapezius and middle trapezius. At the end of the range, our lower trapezius works in more prominent way. This is how the force couple is balanced, and we will be getting the upward rotation of the scapula. Now let us discuss few points about what are the importance of scapulohumeral rhythm. First point, distribution of movements between the joint. So due to this scapulohumeral rhythm, we are getting a proper distribution of movement between the joints. Maintain optimal position of glenoid cavity. It is going to maintain the optimal position, means correct position of the glenoid cavity. Improves the joint congruence. It is going to improve the joint congruence. It is not going to displace the joint from here and there. Decreases the shear force. Shear force will be decreased. Permits maintenance of good length tension relationship of muscles. When the scapulothoracic contribution and glenohumeral contribution both are in proper way, then there will be good length tension relationship of the muscles. And last, prevents active insufficiency of muscles. So these are the few points which are the importance of scapulohumeral rhythm. Thank you so much for listening.